Alrighty, what's up my dudes? I record this video for half an hour straight. I talked for half an hour straight, but it didn't record my microphone, so I have to record the whole thing again. Let's go. This one is gonna be the second part of my how to defend certain bomb site series, and since I have some time right now, I figured I would pick the B side on Province, which is obviously my favorite map, as some of you know. I will presume that the CT team has enough map control to prevent terrorists from entering Winery from this side and from going towards CT. So I'm going to be focusing about the two side entrances, Tunnel and B connector or beacon. Right. I hope this video gets a bit shorter than the last one, but since I talked for half an hour in the first attempt of recording this, it might not be much shorter. Anyway, let's go into it. This video will to be separated into multiple parts. First, after talking about the site basics, which should be fairly quick, I will talk about different positions you can take in order to control and defend the B side. Then I will talk about utility usage, and at the end I'm going to be mentioning team play and especially crossfire strategies that you can implement on this side. I will leave timestamps in the description for every one of those larger topics, so that means that if you don't have enough time to watch the whole video, you can just go to the description and pick the section of the video that you want to watch. Alright, enjoy. First, to just get this out of the way, the default setup on basically each map is obviously 2 players on B, 2 players on A, and 1 player on mid. It's kind of similar on Province, but Province is a huge map, so one player should always be ready to rotate to either bomb side. One position like here, like shown here, would work because he would be holding a passive angle towards A, but would also anytime be able to rotate through Winery over to B. And that means that I'll talk about 2 players being on B now, but a 3rd player should always be around to help defending the site. So, talking about the first area that needs to be defended, this is B connector because it obviously leads from mid to B, and it might be the most common B defense position, but it can actually be played in certain ways. Most people just peek out here and straight peek house or peek mid stairs, but there's a lot of nuance to this entrance. You can play it aggressively, obviously, peek in these angles, but you can also play it passively in multiple ways. You can hold an off angle over here, you can sit in this corner, you can hold such a weird off angle, and there's also some utility that I will go over later, but basically you only have to worry about this area here, and that means that the whole control can be extended towards the short area. I like to call this short and this long, since I already call this area tunnels, so this is short and this is long. For holding short, there's multiple options already, obviously apart from angles like this and this that you can easily hold with a shotgun. There's also head glitches on B side especially, and I really want to underline those. Playing B connector is especially nice if you are having to defend B on your own, because maybe because you're solo queuing and your teammates are shit. And this is because, listen to this. There's a T just entering tunnels now, and you can hear him from up here on B connector. That means, because most people obviously don't walk silently like I do right now, that you will hear approaching terrorists from far away before they actually are about to explode onto the site, and that means that you will get early information by just playing B connector and listening to what is happening down banana. There's also this boost towards middle. Not ideally this would be a 3-man boost, because with a 3-man boost you could actually shoot towards middle, but as you can see I can already jump scout quite a bit and get information on what's going on at house, and as well information on what's going on mid stairs. So this is quite a useful boost if you got 1 or 2 teammates on you. Yeah, try it out. A head glitch means that you stand behind cover, but you can still see the enemy pretty nicely, while he can only see your head, and that means you definitely have a positional advantage and have more of a hitbox to shoot him into than the one he can shoot you in. There's a lot of head glitches on this side especially, like this one here. You can even crouch behind here and play this more passively, and that one, which is also an off angle, that the terrorists have to check first, and you can also play an pretty central position around those bomb site boxes, which also include a head glitch if you play tight angles like this. And there's also this head glitch, which is a really huge off angle towards short. One position that is really situational but might work out quite nicely, especially if you play the B side alone, is this position up on this box stack on short. As you can see, you have huge off angles towards long especially, but also towards the B connector area. And one thing that you have to keep in mind when playing these angles is that the first guy stumbling in your field of view is obviously most likely going to lose a gunfight if you have decent aim, but if there's someone behind him to trade you, you really have to watch out, because it's alright if you are trying to hold this angle against someone coming from B connector, because then after you get one kill you can just drop down and throw a smoke right on your feet, maybe over here, from which you can fall back into the side towards tunnels or winery or even CT. I will cover the smoke later in the utility section of the video, but playing this angle against someone on tunnels can really be dangerous for you, because after you get the opening pick and the enemies know your position, your only way out is to fall back behind this box stack, and that means, even though you have this nice angle here too, you're quite trapped in this corner. So you either have to get to peek again and take more fights, or you somehow manage to flash or smoke or both you into B connector and somehow escape. But if terrorists come from this side too, if it's a basic B split, then you basically have no way out and have to take the fight. Another way to play short is playing it from winery. Winery is a great spot because you can control tunnels and short too, and especially for short there are aggressive angles but also quite passive angles. And this one is one of the more aggressive ones, especially if you combine it with a scoped weapon. You can really hold those tight angles that every T coming from beacon will have to pass in order to get on the B side. So you can shoot and just dance around this pillar, then fall back to another pillar, shoot again, and yeah, basically if you then get shot too, you can just fall back all the way into winery. There's a lot of more passive angles too, one like this, which also watches the whole long area and watches some parts of short too. You can fall back all the way in this corner and wait for the terrorists to clear winery, and the terrorist team will definitely have to do that before they plant their bomb, because otherwise the flash and peak combo would be enough to stop the bomb plant. There's also you can set up this table or fall all the way back and watch short from here. There's like a lot of different things you can do from winery. And obviously there's also the other B-side entrance, which is tunnels. And tunnels is quite one-dimensional because, like, as you can see, this is a thin funnel until here, when the terrorists have more space to spread out on the B side. Up to this point, it's quite tight. Everything is quite tight, and that means that you can also play tight angles. There's ways to play tunnels aggressively but also passively. If you know that terrorists are pushing up tunnels, it's obviously better to play it more passively. And there's multiple ways to do this. One is sitting in one of those corners. This one here is kinda common. That means that even though you might be able to get a first kill if they go through this door, you might still get traded out, because after getting a kill and giving away your position, it's hard for you to get through here and get out. And that means that you have to be really confident or holding a weapon which you can like spray for a long time until you can make your way out. If you're playing tunnels passively, I would strongly suggest playing it actually outside tunnels, because from here you got much more space to move, and two, you can actually be supported by your teammates. If you decide to play tunnels from a close angle, there are angles like this that are quite decent, but obviously you're gonna get spotted right away if the terrorists peek you. There are angles like this, which are quite close ones, and you still can get traded out fairly easily from one of your teammates playing a winery, for example. But I wanted to especially highlight this one. This one is quite a risky one, because you have no space to move without exposing yourself to the tunnels if you want to fall back. But at the same time, it's quite overlooked. That is because obviously the whole side opens towards the left, so every terrorist peeking out here will have to watch the left, because they're going to be exposed to the whole B side and winery and even off angles from short, and that means looking behind them costs extra seconds in which they could get stabbed from the main angles they have to worry about. That means if you're brave enough to play this angle, you can always just throw your smoke down in advance, like this maybe, and as you can see, you can still see someone crossing here mostly, but as soon as you kill someone, you can fall back behind the smoke and just go back into the line of sight of your teammates and fall back further into the side, and that means it's going to be quite hard for you to get traded out. There are also more aggressive ways to play tunnels. One is sitting here and scoping this whole area, but the most aggressive way is obviously to advance all the way till you can control the tunnel entrance. You can play a tight angle like this, get an opening kill and then fall back, but I would only suggest doing that if there isn't immediate tunnel aggression from the CT side. If you know there's no one coming, you can also go even further here and watch banana or watch the underpass area. There's a lot of new options for you to as soon as you leave tunnels. One of the safest ways to play B apart from winery might be this CT spawn area, and especially in combination with those crates. I rarely use this spot, I don't know why, maybe because I'm greedy for kills, but this is a huge off angle too. You can scope the B connector, and also you have quite a good control over long if you play this passively. And in case you get spotted, you can always just fall back, and now you're basically unreachable for everyone coming from connector but also from long, and then you can just fall back and now you can reset, and yeah, that means this is a safe but pretty rewarding position for you to play in. And one last position that I wanted to talk about that is actually the worst position you can play in is this truck position, which you can obviously go inside this truck, and a lot of I would say noobs, new players and unexperienced players tend to do this, obviously because you only have to look one way in order to kill someone coming up here. But what most people don't know is that you can actually get spotted from outside. It's possible to shoot through these windows, and as you can see on the radar, I can spot them from a distance, so that means that you can easily be spotted if you're playing this truck position, and if you try to get out, there's only this area here that has no cover at all. So basically, if you play this, you're fucked. Do never play inside the truck. So, Province is one of those maps where utility, especially flashbangs and smokes, can be quite handy, and I want to go over the most important utility throws that might help you to defend the B side. So the first two smokes aren't actually meant to get B side control, but actually they are for mid control. The first one is lined up like this. You grab this ledge on this left side of the stone wall, and you go all the way up until you hit the this imaginary line on this house ledge up here, and then you normally throw the smoke. And as you can see, this hits the T, the mid-stair area mainly, and that means that it's especially a good support smoke for your teammates playing towards A, because it means that the terrorists can't peek from mid-stairs too easily, and that also means that you will be even more likely to get someone not paying attention to your position because they're irritated through the by the smoke if you're playing B connector aggressively. The second smoke is one I also featured in my prevents smoke video. If you haven't seen that, check it out. Some of these might actually be quite useful, and it's thrown from the same position. You stand over here and you pick the fourth kind of tooth up on the wall and look at its left side. Go all the way up until you find those plain trails or weird clouds going from the bottom left to the top right, and if as soon as you hit those you throw it, you throw the smoke normally, and this one is gonna land in front of house, and house is the most dangerous position for you to watch out for when you're playing B connector aggressively, because a house player can always peek you without being exposed to any other angle other than someone peeking from mid stairs. He will have to focus on this angle from your fellow CT players, but also on your angle. But someone from house can really be dangerous for you, especially if they got weapon for range, a scope weapon. Yeah, and these two smokes really give you and your team advantages and that are necessary to get mid control from the start of the round, especially because Province is a map where mid control is so important. So controlling B side itself with your utility is a bit more basic, but obviously if you're playing B connector and you hear someone approaching from banana, maybe going underpass, and you don't want to be traded or just killed right away, you can just throw down a smoke that will delay anyone going up here, because obviously if they leave the smoke, they don't know if you're playing an off angle like this, or sitting in this corner, or playing this off angle here, so that really gives you time to fall back and reposition, or not fall back and surprise the enemy by still being in the same position. There's also the opportunity to throw a nade somewhere like this. For example, that one wasn't perfect, but if you aim in the middle of this square on the left of this rose kind of thing, that nade has the potential to land quite far deep in B short, so anyone pushing up those tiny steps will get hit by your nade. Also, when you're playing off angles on short like this or like this, also if you had to drop down from this box stack, you can, if you get pressured, just throw a smoke like this, because this one will give you a nice one way, you could say, if you play it with a scope weapon like this, for example, because you can still kind of see through, but you can especially fall back all the way into CT spawn, or also winery maybe, and the same smoke also works if you're playing this angle here and want to especially fall back into winery, or just play the edges of the smoke and maybe jump up here in between and take a fight and fall back and crouch. Yeah, you can really get creative with those basic smokes. For tunnels, the utility usage should be quite clear. If you're playing tunnels a bit more passively and hear someone coming up, maybe you can just throw simple nades that will explode quite far into tunnels. You have to keep in mind that tunnels goes down from your perspective, so the nades are all gonna bounce down those stairs before they pop. So you can also throw an aggressive smoke that is lined up somewhat like this when aiming at the wooden pillar and just normally throwing it. It should land we're at the entrance of tunnels, yeah, like this. And if you follow this up with a flash and just peek right after this, you have full tunnels control and can again hold those tiny angles and wait for an opening pick and then fall back. There are multiple crossfires that work quite nicely, especially because of all those head glitches that I mentioned earlier in this video. So the first crossfire might be one to control people coming from tunnels into long and from trying to make progress towards the bomb site. One CT could sit up here or play this maybe, combined with another CT, for example playing on short and playing this angle. That means that as soon as the terrorists make certain spatial progress, they will be exposed to two people aiming at them at once, and even if they manage to kill one of the guys, they're still gonna get shot from another angle. So yeah, this is the first crossfire. Another crossfire in order to control B connector is one maybe on this corner and on the side glitch, combined with a CT playing winery somewhat like this. When setting up crossfires, you really have to pay attention to not peek out too far by yourself, because if you peek an angle that the teammate you do the crossfire with has no way of peeking with you, then you might just get killed individually without your teammate being able to trade you. And that's basically it. I hope I covered all the essential aspects of defending this site, and I hope you guys can take something out of this. Thanks for 10 subscribers, the bar's quite low, but I mean, the more people discover these videos, the more might actually be able to implement some of those strategies and positions into the gameplay, and I hope now you can go on Provence and kick ass. Let me know in the comments if it worked. Peace out and see you next time.